I'm gonna nerd out a little bit in this video because I am a huge fan of video games and I'm also a huge fan of just the God of War franchise itself. I was a huge fan back when it actually first came out, and I've also been a very huge fan, even a bigger fan than the original Greek mythology God of War, of the Norse mythology God of War, both God of War and God of War Ragnarok. And here is the one lesson that I feel like it's very unappreciated in God of War Ragnarok itself. See, you have all these different themes, and you have like the entire story of God of War about how Kratos is trying to raise Atreus and he's trying to be a good father. And you kind of have that dynamic of a father trying to teach a son, and the son kind of like rebelling and trying to make his own path and everything like that. You have some friendship dynamics, you have other family dynamics as well. You have just an entire story dedicated to personal struggle as well. And to a certain extent, you also kind of have like the power of friendship. But the one key concept, or the one key thing that I feel like it's very underrated, it's very underappreciated, is the concept of fate and how God of War Ragnarok actually did it. See, so the concept of fate in the game itself, and I'm going to make it strictly about the game. In the game itself, there are these beings in Norse mythology, and excuse me if I get anything wrong because I'm literally focusing on what the game has told me and my understanding of it, and obviously I'm a very big amateur when it comes to Norse mythology as well. See, in the game, you have these beings called the Norns, which are kind of like the Sisters of Fate in the first original trilogy of the God of War franchise, which was based off of in Greek mythology. You have the Norns, and they basically determine destiny, fate, predestine anybody to success or failure or whatever. Basically, life is kind of in their hands, and they basically know what you're going to do before you even do it. They basically know whatever is going to happen to you before it even happens to you. So you have those beings. Now, when Kratos and Freya are actually going ahead and meeting the Norns in the first place, they figure out that fate and predestiny and all of these things are complete bullshit. The Norns literally say that we don't destine you to anything. You make your choice, and your choices, the culmination of choices that you make, are so predictable that we know exactly what happens. And I quote this from the cutscene itself. One of the Norns said, "You are the sum of your choices and nothing else." And that hit me. The more I reflect on that, I 100% agree that, that could be a concept as well. Now, here's the thing, right? Obviously, I'm Muslim. I believe in an omnipotent God. I believe in an all-powerful, all-knowing God. And I do kind of believe a concept of destiny as well. So those are my religious beliefs. But the important thing that we can learn from, even in Islam, this is a concept of like, hey, people who go to the hellfire, they wanted to go there. And how did they want to go there? Because their actions determined that they wanted the hellfire in the first place. They never changed their actions. They were never destined for the hellfire. They just made their choices, and that's how they ended up in there, right? That's the Islamic perspective of it. And I 100% think that this is kind of just the same perspective. See, Kratos, the Norns know that Kratos is going to kill Heimdall, because that's what he's always done. He's always been a god killer. He's out to rescue his son, and he doesn't want to kill a god, but he is going to kill Heimdall, Odin, or anybody that stands in his way to get what he wants, which is his son. While that is a noble cause or not, it doesn't matter, because that's his pattern, and that's what he always does. And that is the concept of fate in the game itself. It is the choices that he makes on a day-to-day basis. It is the pattern of choices that we all make on a day-to-day basis. And we become so predictable that it's like destiny was already written for us. See, I kind of thought about this a lot while I was trying my best to make the script for this video. And one thing really popped in my head. And I don't know if maybe I'm stealing the idea from somebody else or whatever. If I am, I apologize. I'll fully credit you. But one thing that really popped in my head was, let's say, for example, a person goes to a fortune teller. I'm not recommending that you go to a fortune teller, okay? I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking. Let's say a person goes to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller says, "Oh, you're going to die of cancer." And the guy's like, "Oh my God, like, what the hell? I'm gonna die of cancer. And then he's like, you know what? If I'm just gonna die of cancer, I'm gonna die like this gruesome death, I might as well just go ahead and live my life to the fullest. And so he goes out, he starts drinking very heavily. He starts, doing all the hardcore drugs. He starts doing basically everything. He starts gambling. He starts essentially adopting all the bad habits and all the sins and all the things that kind of give you pleasure but are probably very detrimental to your health. And he starts doing all of that. And then now, a few years later, he's lying on his deathbed and he's dying of cancer. And he's like, oh man, that fortune teller was right. And now, here's the thing that I want you to think about. Do you think that just because that fortune teller predicted something that was going to happen to him was actually just going to happen, that it was just an inescapable reality? I don't believe that. See, if you get the news that, oh, you're going to die of cancer, and you just go out on the deep end and you just start doing things that are going to cause you cancer, then obviously you're feeding into the fortune itself. You can also go on the opposite end of the spectrum and you can say, I'm going to make sure that cancer never happens. And hopefully it never does. And you still live your life in a very good way. And that is the culmination of the choices that we make. The guy who was laying on his deathbed, dying of cancer, he didn't die of cancer because the fortune teller predicted it. He is dying of cancer because of the choices that he made in the first place that caused him cancer. It's a pattern. It's a culmination of all the things, of all the habits that we accumulate throughout our lives, and then we get the end result of it. And that is basically what the game talks about as well. That we are just the sum of our choices and nothing else. You can choose to be whoever you want to be. And as soon as you figure that out, as soon as you figure out that you are nothing but the sum of your choices, you can be whoever the hell you want. If you want to be a good person, you can always be a good person. It takes one good decision to get the ball rolling, and then as long as you keep on making decisions, or the decision of being a good person, then you'll always be a good person. But the second you slip off the deep end and you start making bad decisions, you start killing off gods, like in God of War, like Kratos did, then you're going to keep on rolling that ball, and you're always going to make the same decisions. And until you break that cycle, then there is no hope for you. That is your fate because of the decisions that you have been making. And this is something extremely powerful that we need to adapt in our daily lives. Like, this is something that I feel like we all need to do. As long as you're making better decisions about yourself, about your life, about your fitness, about health, everything, your fate can be written again. That's not a problem. We're writing our own stories in a way, to a certain extent, right? There's a lot of uncontrollables out there, but at least the things that we can control, we should control them, and we should make the best of them. So make sure you go ahead and do that. I apologize for completely geeking out on a video game. I love video games though, honestly. It's something that I've always grown up with, especially God of War. I loved the Norse saga as well, and I'm really looking forward to the next games as well. Santa Monica, amazing job. Either way, guys, this was episode number 83 of the Daily Lessons podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because I make videos like this every single day, and it means the world to me whenever I get a new subscriber. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching. This is Yusha signing out. Bye, guys.